Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Boudreau. For today, my presentation, I'm going to be speaking about cohesion. I'm going to talk about what cohesion is. I'm going to describe it. I'm going to speak of the characteristics of what team cohesion is and other words that can define it. And then I'm going to talk about ways you can develop cohesion for your team. So if you're a coach or some type of leader, I'm going to introduce you to ways that will help build that cohesion. And this is a very important topic because cohesion is a huge factor which can make or break the success of your team reaching your goal or your destination. So it's extremely important information. So to get things started here, what is cohesion? Well, cohesion means sticking together. It's a process where a group or team sticks together in pursuit of a goal or goals if they have more than one goal. Cohesion is the sum of all the factors that causes the members of a team to remain involved and to also feel a sense of belonging to the team. Cohesion is the glue that bonds that team together. Cohesion is also the amount of unity a team has. It is when members of a team work together and they make an effort to build unity and harmony with each other, creating that oneness within them. It's a major factor that determines how well a team performs and how successful they can become. Cohesion is an active process. Building team cohesion doesn't happen overnight. It is an active process where players come together to achieve a common goal and remain united in pursuit of whatever their goal is. Just being together during your workouts or your practices or games doesn't necessarily guarantee that a team will be cohesive and develop that unity, and it won't mean that they'll be successful. Being together during those times of practices and workouts and games simply means that they're just occupying the same area, the same space at the same time. So it's really beyond that. And so cohesion is really an active process that takes place, and it takes time to develop that positive cohesion. You really need to build on it, and cohesion is also teamwork and chemistry. I say that because they're just other words to describe what cohesion is. Building that teamwork or chemistry is something that has to be taught. It can take a lot of time to do so. As I said, it's an active process. You can't just place a bunch of people together in one room and say, "Hey, look, you're a team now." It doesn't work that way. This is why building that teamwork, building that cohesion takes time. It's an active process, as I keep saying, but it's well worth the investment. And one of Michael Jordan's famous quotes is, "Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships." So take it from one of the greatest and one of the most successful athletes of all time. So continuing with what is cohesion, what are the characteristics of team cohesion? Cohesion is, defined by the way players interact with one another. It's the interaction. It's key. People will usually refer to their team as being cohesive if the members get along well and if they're loyal to each other. Players need to have each other's backs on and off the field or on and off the court or wherever it is they perform to overcome the adversities and to grow as a unit. Here I have a picture of a Monmouth basketball team, and they had their best year ever. And part of their success was the fact of how cohesive their team was and the way they interacted. I know some of you guys are familiar with this. We've seen it from last season. Some team benches you see, the players are just kind of sitting there and they're not really involved or interested in the game. They're not interacting at all. The players could be sitting at the end of the bench or displaying bad body language and have their head down, and they're just kind of they're not interested. Look at this bench though. Their bench players help put them on the map. They interacted with each other in a way which revolutionized the idea of sitting on the bench. They decided to support their team because they understood it was a team effort at the end of the day, whether they were playing or whether they were not playing. Going on, cohesion is we instead of me. It's having that idea, that thought process. It's not about me. It's not about I. It's about we. So yeah, another indicator of the amount of cohesiveness in a team is the frequency of those statements of we and our instead of using statements such as I and me. The players on a team that are cohesive play for the name on the front of their jersey, not on the back. And Good teams become great ones when the members trust each other enough to surrender that me for the we. And Cohesion really helps determine whether or not a team is successful or not. I mean, it is really critical. The best teams are usually the most cohesive units. If cohesion is lacking, it can often prevent the team from reaching its full potential. You can be the most talented team in the world, but you can still fail if you lack team cohesion. If a team has low skill but has very high cohesion, then it can be just as effective or even more effective compared to a team that has very high skill but low cohesion. You know, um, Once the season is over for whatever sport it is, coaches can look back on their team's success or their team's failure, and they can attribute the success or the failure of their season to how cohesive their team was. They can determine and verify whether or not there was a lot of chemistry there, whether they played together as a whole unit and they were interacting positively and the chemistry was there. Obviously there are other important factors that come into play, but team cohesion is a major factor that can make or break a team's success. And to me, there's nothing worse in sports than a team with all the potential in the world, extremely high talent level, and there just so happens to be a lot of conflict, and the players just don't get along. It's very sad to see. So, cohesion is extremely important in all sports. So, moving on, how can a coach develop cohesion? This is really important, and I think the problem is that many teams or coaches aren't sure what cohesion is and how to go about developing and maintaining a cohesive environment. So, I'm going to talk about some ways coaches can help develop and build that unity and that cohesion within their team. And the first thing I would suggest is coaches need to be aware of the way they communicate and the way they treat their players. Coaches should, you know, treat their players differently but equally. They should understand who their players are, what makes them go, what makes them tick, and treat them differently in that aspect, but treat them equally. A coach should make sure he or she rewards all their players equally with praise or constructive criticism. Coaches should avoid coddling and overprotecting their superstar players or negative players. If a coach caters too much to a superstar or all-star player, and you're kissing his or her behind and everything, the other players will notice and see that, and it's probably not going to sit well with them, and that can disrupt the cohesion of the team. So it's important to treat everyone fairly, everyone equally, and you should also hold everyone accountable. If you're going to punish someone for something that he or she did, you better make sure you do it with everyone else on that team. Accountability is very important, and you want to make sure you communicate that and you act it out with each and every player. You shouldn't be playing favorites or anything like that, and because it can break up the cohesion, it can rub off the wrong way to the rest of the team. So you want to make sure you communicate to all your players about that, and make sure you act it out as well. It's also important to show your players and communicate to your players that they are equally important and they're just as valued as everyone else on the team. Each player has the need to feel important. So you should do your best as a coach or as a leader to make sure that each member feels like they are part of something important and part of the team, and that they are contributing some way, something important, regardless of how much playing time he or she might get. Like that contribution doesn't mean being the all-star player. It's beyond that. So you want to make sure that a coach communicates the roles to each of his or her players and assigns definitive roles, and define the roles, and make sure the players are accepting of those roles, and show appreciation to each player for performing that role, and help him or her master that role. When players feel like they're executing valued and important roles, they will experience a greater sense of cohesion within the team. The phrase treat others as you would like to be treated applies here. You should be aware of what the needs are for each of your players, and also know how you can help them how you can make them feel a significant part of the team. Um, it's also important to show concern for your players as people, not just athletes, or volleyball players or football players or whatever. You want to be able to show concern for them as people. So be able to build that empathy and earn their trust. You should get to know them outside of the sport and have them get to know each other. And you should communicate clearly and be a positive role model to them, and believe in them. And make sure you get them to work hard, but at the same time, don't burn them out. Avoid burnout at all possible. That's not going to help the cohesion. And encourage fun. Encourage them to have fun. And when all things go well, always give them the credit and show appreciation towards them. Next, a coach should encourage social bonding. And you can encourage social bonding through, training camps, or, pre-practices before the season, the preseason time, or through many types of social events. Holding training camps and practices in new and different areas can help build that unity. A lot of teams take trips outside of their usual confines, and they'll go somewhere together where they are off the field or off the court, and they'll just spend time with each other, with whatever it is they're doing, with whatever type of social event they're engaged in. For instance, the Buccaneers from the NFL, they had one of their recent training camps in Japan to start off the process of building the team and building that cohesion. The Clippers from the NBA, they took a trip to China, I think it was last year. And trips like these, where the players are spending a lot of time together, it helps build that unity. The team could look back on their year when their season is over, and they could say, that trip to China was one of the main reasons that we came together as a team. It's one of the main reasons we gelled and we connected, and we are who we are as a team. So it's about getting the team to do things together outside of the gym and outside of the field, or whatever sport it is that they play. These are things some professional and elite level teams do, as I mentioned, just a couple. As a coach at Mesa College, we don't plan on going to China or anything like that. Sorry guys, not in the budget. But what we will do is find other ways within our budget to encourage social events. We'll go out to lunch, we'll go out to dinner, we'll sit down as a team and watch some other college teams perform. We'll sit down and watch the football team play some of their games, the women's volleyball team play some of their games, the soccer teams, etc. And we'll also do volunteer events where we'll help organizations and things like that. We're going to hold some fundraising opportunities together. So we're going to be doing a lot of things, spending time with each other off the court, and outside the gym, and helping to promote that unity and cohesiveness. And, during road trips, we're going to be spending a lot of time together when we're on the road, and, when we're in the bus and things like that. And that also can help promote that cohesiveness. I remember when I was a player, I was in the bus sitting next to a teammate of mine that really didn't like me too much for whatever reason. We never really talked or anything like that. It was kind of awkward at first, but we were stuck together for quite a long time. So we ended up talking for a little bit, and a couple hours later, we ended up actually becoming really good friends. He even told me himself that he never really liked me at first, but that I was actually a really cool guy. And that's just an example right there where bonds can be established and become stronger, by going on road trips and spending time with each other off the court or off the field or whatever. You know, this upcoming season, my team, we're actually going on the road for our first 10 or so games. So we won't have a home game for a while. And I'm actually excited about that because it gives us an opportunity to go on the road and spend a lot of time with each other and get to know each other and build some type of unity and cohesion. And I think it will allow my team to build sooner than if we were just at home. So there's a lot of opportunities that teams can do and will go through. And it's up to the coach or the leader to establish it and make it a concern to help build that cohesion. And, the longer a group is together, usually the more cohesion there is. So continuing, how can a coach build cohesion for his or her team? First thing a coach should be aware of is putting the right team together. The coach or leader needs to attract and recruit good people who are team players and that are unselfish and that are willing to buy into the process. It will help establish that cohesion more quickly and a better chance of developing positive cohesion if the right people are on board. I would also suggest limiting the number of players on your team. The more players you have, the more players that you're going to have that will be sitting on the bench or sitting out. The whole point of the game is playing the game. And so there's a higher chance of conflict with having more players that, don't get much opportunity to play. There's a higher chance that there can be conflict or cancers on the team or, any type of disruptions as far as disrupting the cohesion. And also, it's important to create a cohesive coaching staff. If the coaching staff is cohesive, then it will be easier for the players to fall in line and to also become cohesive themselves. Another important aspect that a coach should touch on is having team goals. To establish cohesion, everyone needs to be on the same page when it comes to team goals. Everyone needs to be working towards that team goal. There has to be an established mission and process to attain that common goal. If everyone is striving towards the same thing, then it will help the cohesion develop. It's important to make sure that the members know what the individual goals are for themselves and for their teammates. The leader, the coach needs to communicate that to the assistants and to all the players involved. But beyond having team goals, I think that the journey needs to be emphasized more than the goal. You should create the best possible conditions for success and let go of whatever the outcome is. Whether you win, whether you lose, you should always find ways to celebrate some type of success within those situations. In sports, it's a game of winning and losing, so you're not going to win them all. If your team loses, you shouldn't scold or single out a player and blame him or her for the loss. It should be addressed as we the team, we together lost, not just this player lost for us or whatever. Despite of how the outcome, whatever the outcome was. And it's also important to establish team meetings where players are able to open up and give their input and giving the players autonomy in that sense. Having team meetings is a good way to check in and make sure everything's going well with the team and to help actively build on that positive cohesion. Team meetings can provide an opportunity for the team members to spend some time together and to discuss things that could be of relative importance. But beyond just having team meetings, it's important that the meetings are constructed in a way where, as I said, the players are able to speak up and open up and give some input and make some decisions. Giving the athletes more autonomy and giving them a choice in what actually happens is important in building that cohesion. Coaches would be able to ask for input and suggestions, and players can tell others what they see happening or what they see isn't happening. And I feel like a lot of coaches feel like they believe they should always have the last word. But me, I believe it's important to create an environment where everyone takes on a leadership role. It's important that everyone involved, from the head coach to the superstar veteran, to the starters, to the backups, to the last guy on the bench, to the rookie, whatever, it's important that each and every one of them were able to share their input and make suggestions that they might feel is important to share, and be comfortable with sharing it without any type of punishment, or they should be feel fine with sharing it, whether or not it's agreed upon or not. Um, if you want a team to be united and cohesive, it doesn't make sense to just always impose your authority on them. Everyone should feel comfortable with sharing what's on their mind, or something that they think could be helpful for the production of the team, without feeling afraid at all to do so. So just giving them an opportunity to have a say in how the team functions, and in the decision making. Um, and you as a coach are giving them an insight into your expectations when you're giving them an opportunity to say things to how they're constructed, what they think, because you know they're being actively involved in the whole process themselves, and it will help the players buy in more, and it could help improve the overall satisfaction and cohesion of the team. So that's it. I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you, and to all the coaches out there, to any of you guys that are coaches, I hope that maybe I said something that was of relative importance to you. Thank you.